Okay. And I have this little what's yours?
No, sure.
What's yours? Alright. Okay, so I had this little thing I started doing at NRA, and it goes like boop. So that's how I know how when I start my films, right? So alright, so yeah, so hey everybody, it's Refrigerator with House Customs, of course. I'm here in Davie, Florida with my friends at Tactical Life. I have Lance here. Lance is the Director of Operations. We're actually in the shop right now. This is actually Lance's area where he puts together firearms, where he does some gunsmithing. Of course, y'all hear the what do you call this machine? The lathe, CNC back there working. So y'all forgive that, but hopefully the audio is still pretty good. So Lance, tell me what first got you into firearms?
So I grew up in firearms for the most part. My father was a hunter. He was a concealed carry holder most of his life. So very young on me, my sisters, we all kind of got into shooting from there. I was shooting when I was 12, 13 years old. So that's kind of when I started out with this passion, this love.
Okay, cool. And then what kind of inspired you, or how did you end up in the actual 2A industry, here at Tactical Life?
So it was, for most of us, COVID came around. It was a good time to decide to make changes. Right. I had always been doing part-time work in the industry, working with a couple different shops in the area. Okay. My background is actually product development in manufacturing already. Okay. But I worked in a totally different field. I worked in cosmetics.
Yeah, you said that earlier. Yeah,
as crazy as it is, but my background's always been manufacturing.
Okay.
So when an opportunity came up, when the gentlemen, the guys here at Tactical Life, I've known Anthony, we used to shoot competitively. Okay. So when there was a need, we reached out around COVID time, just after, and I felt like everybody else was taking big leaps and doing big changes. I was like, put it out there and do it myself too, and come out and do something I actually love doing.
Okay, yeah, definitely, man. I can definitely feel the passion from the years that I've known you guys. Just in case y'all don't know, I actually met Lance at Tactical Life at Train and Learn. Yep. So big shout out to Kevin Dixie. He's definitely a mentor, friend to both of us, and so 100%. I definitely appreciate that connection that I made. Side note, that is one good reason for going to Tactical Life. I mean, the Train and Learn, if you're actually in the 2A space, in the 2A industry, you kind of want to grow and learn, is definitely a great place for that. But yeah, so back to you mentioned competitive shooting.
Yep.
So how long did you do that?
Did that for a few years, on and off. I didn't get too deep into it, but it was, for me, I'll be honest, it was a good way to have a practice of actually doing more shooting than just standing in front of the target.
Right.
I particularly did IDPA, which is all from concealment. Okay. So it was a good opportunity to do some moving and shooting, especially when I first got into really being serious about
carrying everything. Yeah. So that is something that is a big thing that I kind of push for people who feel like you want to carry every day. If you're kind of starting to think about not just home defense, but just every day, everywhere you go type of defensive pistol carrying. Competition shooting, especially on the local scene, is a great place to get that practice where you're not just static.
Yeah, and look, I met these guys.
Right, and you never know if you take it serious.
12 years ago almost.
Wow, like a lot of people do kind of. I've met a lot of people in this industry where their start was the competitive shooting, and that. So, with you having that much kind of skill and that kind of background, do you do any like training?
Yep, I'm also a certified instructor. So I do a lot of teaching out of Tactical Life here. So I do concealed carry courses. I also do your basic pistol course, basic rifle course. We also do a lot of hosting for outside instructors as well that come down. So I like to help other guys come down and get people set up for when we have the big dogs coming down to do some hard-hitting classes.
Okay, cool. Do you have a particular brand for your training?
So I own Chambered Round Firearms Training. Catch me on IG, Facebook. Working on my website now. So yes, 100%. Anything you need down in South Florida training-wise, please reach out. Appreciate it.
Yeah, so that's good, man. It's always good to have a contact because sometimes when you're new to an area, or let's say, people in the United States, people move around a lot, right? 100%. So, you one year you're living working in a place that's super restricted, and you can't really own firearms, and you move to a place like Georgia or Florida, where we're kind of like wide open, and you know, yeah, you want somebody to kind of point you to, you know, the good ranges, right?
Yes.
So, you know, you can avoid a lot of that little BS, especially being kind of like in minorities like we are, you know, that can sometimes kind of be a little bit of interference. So having someone that looks like you, that kind of has that same vibe, that kind of same kind of culture.
I will say that was a big reason for me. I'm Puerto Rican Ecuadorian. So one of the reasons I got into this industry is that for that there was very little minority representation in the industry. And you know, we are a big demographic. So we should be out there voicing our opinions and, you know, getting out there training, working with others. You know, that's the way we should be. That's how we grow.
Right, and you know, definitely one thing that I've felt from you and from Anthony. Just to mention Anthony here. Anthony is the owner of Tactical Life. So yeah, you know, you guys have been very friendly to me, and that was one thing that I really appreciated, right? Because a lot of times when you come in new in the industry, which I was very new when I first met you guys. Matter of fact, that first year at Tactical Life, I think I had literally just started my LLC. Like I hadn't even finished all of my FFL paperwork, I don't think, at that time. So, you know, for you guys to be there to answer those questions for me and to just always, you know, be a place where I feel I can go and have questions. You ask those stupid questions, you know what I mean? Like,
right. I always tell people no stupid questions. There's only, what is it? The same
it's like no stupid questions to answer. But the thing is, though, you know, it still can feel a certain way, right?
But we all start somewhere, and we're here for that.
And you guys have never been judgmental. You guys have always just been an open hand, an open book, like however you want to phrase it. And so I definitely appreciate that. And the pressure kicked back on, so we're gonna pause here for a minute, and then we'll come back on a couple more questions.
Enjoy her boyfriend. I think she said that you were walking around with a Tactical Life shirt. The Tactical Life.
No, that was at the Iraq veteran shoot.
Yes.
Iraq veteran shoot. Yeah, that was crazy.
Yeah,
like,
she was like, it's funny. She was like, you guys know Fridge? I was like, yeah, he's got one of our guns. She's like, yeah, I noticed. I saw it.
Right, yeah, because I took it. Yeah, I took it there. I used it for. I think I still had the demo. I think I took it and used it for the Mad Minute. Yeah, I had my Tactical Life hat on. Yeah, she was like, oh, you Tactical Life? I was like, yeah, what you know about Tactical Life? She was like, oh, that's my brother. I'm like, oh shit, small world. All right. So anyway, boop. All right, guys. So we're back. Part 2. Compressors kick back off. Right. We got it paused here for a minute. But yeah. So now we want to talk about a couple more things about you and then about you, Lance, and then we'll get into some new products that you guys have. That, of course, anything Tactical Life has, as an authorized dealer, Strap House Customs can get it for you.
That's correct. Yep.
So we'll get into that. But so we talk about you being a competitive shooter. We talk about you having kind of growing up with firearms. You know, what was your first gun that you purchased yourself? Do you remember?
It's embarrassing. So my first gun, I'll never forget, it was a Smith & Wesson. At the time, I think it was when the Sigma 9 just came out.
The Sigma 9. That's crazy. I was just at Moss Pawnee Gun, and they had a little like pamphlet, like doing the little advertising posters of the Sigma, and I thought that was weird. And that's crazy how guns kind of come and go, right? Because
that is true.
That's not really a model that anybody talks about. I don't know why. I don't know what happened, but it's just not. Me personally, my first was the Taurus PT92, which is the Reticlone. So yeah, so that's cool. What is your favorite platform to shoot right now?
Currently, I would probably say I've recently got myself a MP5 gun.
Yep, it's on my list too.
Yep, so I've been having some fun with that. Got a Century AP5K.
Okay. You like the Ks? I don't like them too small. I like the more.
You know, funny story. I got a good deal on it from somebody who was having some technical issues with it. So I took it as a self-project to get it to run.
Nothing like being a gunsmith, right? You get the best deals as a gunsmith.
It's like being a mechanic. It's a mechanic special. I picked up mechanic special MP5K basically.
Right, and then you
You
get
know?
the pride of like,
It's
nah,
running.
it's running.
That's
yeah.
it. Yes,
Cool, cool,
100%.
cool.
The
And-
PCCs have been pretty fun lately.
Yeah,
you know?
PCCs are kind of like, so PCCs and the double stack 1911 are kind of like the big things right
It's going to
now.
be my next, probably in 2011. I'm definitely looking at one of those platforms to start getting into and doing my own work on.
Right. Like we discussed earlier, my question is, do I buy something that's like really nice and ready to run out the box, or do I kind of buy something that's maybe more run-of-the-mill, a little bit less expensive, so I don't feel bad when I'm just like throwing all the parts away? So
It's a toss-up these days.
It definitely is.
It all
There's some
depends on how
really
your
nice
friends are
stuff out
going to,
there.
be out there on it. That's usually how that goes.
Right.
I like, you know what? There are plenty of overseas manufacturers making some of these clones that honestly are great for beginners. That's the honest truth.
Exactly.
People just want to start up, don't want to break the bank. And
Right.
you want to get that feel. There's tons of overseas manufacturers right now that are doing 2011 platforms that not about it, like we were saying, a couple of those we know, some of those brands, and your friends might be like, but it's not a Staccato or it's not a Atlas, but you know what? It does what I
Shoot
need.
the lights out.
That's right. It does what I need.
That's really what it
boils
boils down to. Yeah. So next we want to talk about again focusing here on Tactical Life.
Yes.
Some of the kind of new things, right? And one of the first things I want to point out right here. It's actually locked into the mag. There we go. Okay. All right. And so of course this is for YouTube. Y'all know it's clear, right? There's no magazine in there. So this is one of the new colors that is available directly from Tactical Life because they do in-house Cerakoting, right? So, if you have a specific color, a specific theme in mind, let me know. We can reach out to Tactical Life and literally order directly from the manufacturer the colors that you want, right? So, what color is this? What is this considered?
So this is a Troy Tan. So this is our 7.5 stealth pistol that we manufacture in-house. We do stock in colors. So a few of those colors are going to be the Troy Tan, our FDE, OD Green, Sniper Gray.
Sniper Gray.
Yep, Sniper Gray, and Chocolate. So those are kind of our stocking colors. The cool thing about that is, for the most part, when you buy one of our pistols, rifles, those two-tone colors, they're not an added charge.
No extra charge.
Nope, it is
Now,
included
if you
in the
want
price.
the custom color.
It's when you start getting into some of the custom stuff.
Ooh, some of the gun candies you showed me
Yep,
earlier.
we got some of these nice gun candies.
Hey.
If you check out, Tactical Life's Instagram, you'll see some of those different Cerakote camo, battle worn, bunch of different stuff we do now.
I'm just saying, right? Just like being here is kind of like very dangerous for a newly married man.
Yes.
With a wife that's not here and a credit card that's in my pocket. But anyway, that's a conversation for another day. We don't want too much evidence.
I always say, I think the ploy was get me to work here because then my paycheck stayed here. Right?
Ooh.
I was like, I get it. That was the ploy, because now I'm always buying
It's
something.
always
you always see
something, right?
something cool coming through the door that
Exactly.
you want to test and play with.
Exactly. So again, custom colors. We got some in-stock colors. This is the stealth model. We got the duty model, which is fully ambi.
Yep.
Then we have the takedown model, which there's a Gen 2 of the takedown.
Yes.
So
coming with the 8-ball, also full ambi as well.
Yep. Then you
Suppressor
mentioned that
ready.
8-ball. 8-ball is not necessarily a new product,
No.
but they went fast.
Yep.
But
So
now we
back
got them in stock.
Yep.
Yeah. So let's sit this back down here.
There we go.
Yep, and then let's the 8-ball. We was talking about the
Alright.
8-ball. Let's show that right there.
So this is our 8-ball linear comp. So this was designed in-house. It's one of my creative features that I came up with one night, and I got our machinist to kind of start putting in some work, and he put his brain to it, and next thing you know, we have our 8-ball. It is a linear comp we designed in-house that helps to direct all your flash and gases forward when you're using it on your rifle. Also, that hub works as a hub for a majority of different suppressors, including our own, and a few other brands as well. So the cool thing is you can actually screw that off, screw your suppressor on, no changing,
Okay.
not having to worry about retiming or anything like that.
All right, that's cool. So that's great when products kind of work together like that. Sometimes it's cool to have, like, what do you consider, like, a specific product. I can't think of the right word I want to use. But yeah, when you have a product that's like, specific to a specific company or
Proprietary,
specific
yep.
proprietary, right? And so to get something else to work, now you got to buy a whole bunch of new adapters and blah 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 and this and that, and it just makes something that's already suppressors and stuff like that can tend to be a little bit more expensive,
Yep.
and having to add all of these extra added modifiers to make it work.
Different mounts, different hubs, it starts to get costly after a
Right,
while.
exactly.
The good thing about this is we use the 8-ball almost as a placeholder. If you're waiting on your stamp, you're waiting on your suppressor to get done, you throw an 8-ball on there, you're able to go ahead and still shoot the gun. And then when your suppressor gets approved, you're able to put your suppressor on. And then when you're using your suppressor on other guns, you just put an 8-ball on there, you're still able to shoot the gun.
Right. And so this is the thing that for me, the 8-ball that I noticed the biggest difference on our short pistols, right? Especially like the 10.5 to 7.5, the concussion and the powder spray, the unburnt powder that you get coming out of that muzzle. With this irregular, this kind of bird cage type of muzzle device, like it helps with the recoil a little bit, but it's not fun. In Atlanta we shoot indoors a lot.
Yep.
In the city we shoot indoors a lot. So something like this 8-ball, and it pushes everything forward. It pushes everything forward. The gas, the pressure, the unburnt powder. It just makes it a more comfortable, more enjoyable shoot.
One of the things we always say is it's a much more pleasurable experience for the shooter.
Right, right.
Because the person behind the gun now, everything's going forward. And like I said, I've been next to somebody in an indoor range shooting a bird cage.
Oh yeah. Oh,
It's
yeah.
not fun. Try to teach doing that. It's not easy. It's not easy.
Try to think doing that.
Yeah.
It gets kind of crazy, especially when you have that guy next to you that's got a really short AR.
5.56, yeah.
They're shooting 5.56 versus 2.23, so the 5.56 is already way more powerful. It's way more concussive. And then they're just shooting it like, wow, it's just mag dumping, right? And it's just like, it'll give you a headache. It give you a headache, and you guys will see if you look back at some of our other Tactical Life, where we actually had the Tactical Life demo, where we did our comparison between my friend, the wheelchair shooter,
Yep.
and he actually he had built the AR pistol, and just comparing it, that was one of the big things that we noticed is that the Tactical Life rifle with the 8-ball, it was way more pleasurable to shoot. It was a little bit more controllable, and so I think the 8-ball is a big deal for these super short,
Definitely
short
sure.
rifles,
Yep.
pistols. Okay, cool. So that's that. And then so next we have
So I'll show you, just since we're speaking on the
Right.
on the 8-ball. So this is one of our latest suppressors. This is our 308 30 cal K can. We call this the Tango. It's our short version. It's a 30 cal can. It'll do 300 blackout, 5.56, 308. A little shorter than our full size can, which has already been on the market for quite some time. And then, like we were saying, the cool thing about this design is that muzzle device will go right in there.
all right, YouTube, don't get me because we're not putting it on the gun. We're just
We're just screwing on. We're just screwing on a cap.
Right. So yeah. So technically, it would end up going like that,
Yep.
like that. But yeah. So again, one thing about Tactical Life that kind of is a benefit for me being an authorized dealer is that you guys are, doing so many products. You're not just ARs, right? Like you got your brand of ARs, you got other brands of ARs, you got pistols, you got bolt action rifles, the shotguns, like some of everything. And again, if you're in Atlanta and you want to get a good deal on some of this stuff,
Yep.
Strap House Custom would definitely be glad to help you. But yeah, now the NFA items, that's a little bit different. Right now we're kind of waiting
Yeah.
for some legislation that may or may not change. But as of right now, Strap House Customs, we don't do NFA items.
But we'll always take
But
care of you guys
again,
from first down.
right, yeah. If you're in the Florida area, you can literally come right on in, and they've got a silencer shop, kiosk right there. It is silencer shop, right?
Yep, silencer
okay,
shop,
make sure
kiosk.
out of these silencer shop, silencer co. I
Yep,
get mixed
silencer
up.
shop kiosk.
Silencer shop kiosk, so everything can be done right here in house. Again, to me, Tactical Life is right on point. With everything they're doing. We've got the experts here that can answer any of your questions. If you're having a problem with your firearm and you need, that gunsmithing assistance, or even not even necessarily assistance, but you just have questions like, what's the best option? They've got a store full of options up front, so you know that's cool. And then the next thing is you're getting into the slide cuts.
Yeah.
And
Last
milling
but
and
not
stuff
least,
like
I want
that.
to show you some of the services that we're doing now. We're big on services here. So besides just your standard sales, we do a lot of services, whether it's gunsmithing, building. We also do milling. So this is our latest slide package that we just came out with. This is a Glock 19 slide. We always tell it starts off as just a block of steel, blank. And we do all of our machining in-house.
Hold it up a little higher. I don't know.
Yeah. So we
starts off like this, ends up like this.
Yeah. We do optics cuts for various different footprints. This particular one is for an RMR footprint. We have the lightning pocket on the top, lightning windows on the top and on the side. We've added front serrations, rear serrations at an angle. We also do a ported version for pretty much all your Glock models, 43, 48s, 19s, 17s. So we're doing these slides across the board for the most part on all Glocks right now. Whether we have our own slides that we're doing in-house, or you can send in your OEM slide. And we can do that to your OEM slide.
And that's for any brand.
That's pretty much any brand for the most part. As far as optics cuts and most of your porting, we can pretty much do on any brands. Some of the side profiling, we're still working on some programs for some more from different manufacturers. But that's something you guys can get with him. Get him your slide. You send it into us. We'll get it back to you. Our normal turnaround times anywhere from 7 to 10 business days. Just, you know, depending on what's going on.
And in Georgia to Florida, you know, overnight, next day, you know, shipping is going to be pretty much effortless, and that's what I've experienced with you guys thus far. So, you know, and again, when it comes to, you know, the slide cuts, the milling, you know, some of these serrations and porting and stuff like that, as you go from different models of guns, you know, like for some of the Smith & Wessons, you know, they have that little, you know,
your
underneath
your safety plungers
right there.
The sight.
Right, so
you know, we're able to
school.
modify all that kind of stuff.
So see, you know, it's more than just putting it in the machine and just doing a bunch of cuts, right? It takes a little bit of research. It takes a little bit of knowledge of the actual firearm itself to be able to make sure that you're not just tearing up somebody's stuff, right?
Yes, 100%. Sometimes you start cutting into these slides, and if you don't know, you'll run into something like a safety plunger or something of that nature that's going to be underneath that slide or that slide or
underneath that space where we're trying to put this red dot. You know, and then I notice here, then of course, you know, you got your standard Glock sight mounts here and here. And so that's something else you have to keep in mind.
And we also do the relocating of the rear dovetail. So, like if you're running an Acro or some of the bigger sights, you can actually relocate that dovetail to the front of your optic now.
Okay.
So there's pretty limitless on a lot of the stuff that we can do on most of the Glocks nowadays.
Okay. Specifically the Glocks. And yeah, everybody, you know, talks about Glock perfection, but it's not perfected until you perfect it yourself. So that's one of the big things.
You know, it's
about
personalizing is what I say. You know, we want things to function, and you know, some of us it's just like, we like to have personalized items. You know, most of us got change different stuff on our cars. Or do the same with your gun.
Right. You know, you might tint the windows. You might put
some rims,
some
subs. Yeah, it's basically the same thing.
You know, it's kind of the same thing. Yeah, and like tricking out your firearms is something that, you know, is becoming more and more popular. And, you know, I'm glad to know that I've got a direct connect to someone that can,
100%.
you know, get a lot of these things done that, you know, Strap House Customs were just not ready to do in-house yet. And to have a partner that is so close, that's so willing to, you know, work with us and kind of teach me and kind of, you know, bring us along. And, you know, again, Lance, I just can't thank you enough for your time today. I can't think of anything else. We talked about chambered round. On Instagram and Facebook.
Instagram, Facebook.
Website's
check us out.
coming soon.
You need any kind of instructing. Just general information. I tell all my students that once you're my student, I hope you're my student for life. I get the students to text me random questions. I try to be there for everybody.
Exactly. Same. So
anything you need in that realm, all of our services down here at Tactical Life, please let us know if you need anything. You can always send in anything to us. If it's something oddball, Cerakote work, anything like that, we'll take it in. We'll usually put in the work.
Okay, cool. And tacticallife.com, Tactical Life Videos, I think is the YouTube page.
You know, just quick shout out to basically everybody here at Tactical Life, whether it's our machinist John, our guy up front David, or our owner, Anthony, you know, without everybody working simultaneously together, we wouldn't be able to do this all for you guys. So
Yeah, I can
shout out to
definitely
everybody.
see. Yeah, I can definitely see it's a good bit of teamwork. It's almost like a family, and I feel kind of like a distant cousin.
That's
kinda
it. That's
coming
it. That's
home
what
to-
we're doing.
Stopping by to visit for just real quick.
Coming in town.
Yeah,
That's it.
yeah, just in
Anytime.
and out,
We're
yeah.
always open. We love to have people come by, do tours, show us everything. You know, we like to show people behind the scenes. So if you're in the area and you want to stop by, give me a shout. We'll set it up for you too.
All right, so yeah, guys, that's it. We're gonna wrap it up here from Tactical Life. I think I'm gonna go do a little bit of shopping, and we don't want to record that. We don't want no evidence.
Right? There you go.
All right, guys, have a good one.
Peace.